everyone and welcome to my channel. I wanted to make a more cinematic video about this one because we are shooting stars today. So it's night for Milky Way, and so the problem is that I reached here with some lack of time. The night was falling fast and I needed to take some shoots, some pre-shoots in order then to blend the images together with the Milky Way. I will explain you later in the video how I do it. Well, but just to be quick here, this is a quick video about a tutorial how to photograph the Milky Way. Well, it's quite easy in terms of photography procedure. You just need to make a long exposure to find the Milky Way in the sky, and then you just need some technical advices, of course, to make this kind of photo. So the first one is find clear skies. I have some problems today because there are not so much clear skies. The clouds are coming, but it's still a little bit of wind, so with luck I have clear skies. Second, you have to, of course, find the best the time of the year to make this kind of photography, and the best time, of course, is when the Milky Way appears, from April till September, more or less. And the Milky Way core just appears in the end of June, beginning of July, so this is the season for the core of the Milky Way. So the second thing you need is a good camera with high tolerance to high ISOs. So you need to shoot at 3200 high ISO or 4000 or maybe 6400. That will depend on your lens that you use. So you should, and number three, you should use very luminous lenses, so about f1.4, 1.8, f2, f2.8, and avoid lenses with so less luminous apertures like f4 or f5.6. You can make it, but the photo will be noisier and will not be so pretty, of course. So number four, you have two ways of making this kind of photos. So you can make one single image, so you exposure is for the Milky Way, you expose for the Milky Way, you take the shot and you have the shot. And the other way is to blend two images. So you first take one shot of the foreground, which was what I was doing until now. So I take one shot of the foreground with me in the foreground with this light, and then the second shot will be with the Milky Way, of course. So let's see how it goes. Number five, and the last tip is, well, you can make photos of the Milky Way just with your camera and pointing to the Milky Way and making long exposure. So the maximum of long exposure that you are able to do depends on your lens, and you have to make that rule, that exposure rule, which gives you the longest or highest exposure time that you can, or that you are able to do with your lens. So if you are using, for example, 16 millimeters, you have to divide the 16 by 500 and you have the number of exposure that you are going to use. But personally, I like to decrease that amount of time. Otherwise, you will have blurry stars in the sky. So because of the rotation of the Earth, you will end up with the sky being blurred and you have trails in your stars. So in order to avoid that, you need to follow this 500 rule, or 600 rule is the same, and for you to have good results in the Milky Way. So wrapping this up, number one, finding clear skies. Number two, having a good camera to catch these high ISOs. Number three, a good lens to capture the Milky Way in a proper way. So good lens is a very luminous lens with an f about 1.4, 1.8, f2. And then number four, you have to decide which composition you will make. So if you want to make a blended composition or a single shot composition. Number five, and the number five tip is about the exposure time. Be very careful about that. Follow the 500 rule or the 600 rule if you like, but keep your shutter length low otherwise you will end up with star trail. You must be very careful also with your focusing. Focusing must be manual, of course. We are focusing at night, so what we do is you focus on the brightest star that you can see, and then you will whoa, well, I have a bird around here. And then you will have your sharpness, your sharp image. Be very careful about sharpness, okay? So otherwise you will end up with a not so good photo because it will not be in focus. So the last thing that I want to speak with you is MSM tracker, or trackers in general. I use MSM, Move Shoot Move tracker, to make my Milky Way exposure. So what this does is to track the stars, and it allows you to make long exposures. So I can make 120 seconds of exposure if I want, 100 seconds of exposure, 60 seconds exposure, what I want. I would not recommend to do more than 180 seconds of exposures because thermal noise. So if you do a long exposure, your camera will heat up and then will provoke more noise, and that you don't want. So these trackers, I'm not going to make a tutorial about the tracker, just to tell you that you can use these trackers to make your Milky Way shots, and of course the more light you gather, the more brilliant will be the Milky Way, and the more visible, more sharp will be the Milky Way. So it's all about gathering light, and this allows you to make longest exposures, and of course to have more light captured in your sensor. So this is a must go. What you should know is that when you use these rotators, the sky will be completely sharp, but the earth will rotate, so you get that motion in earth. So it's mandatory to make this kind of photos, of blending photos, so you need to blend the foreground with the Milky Way. So yeah, it's everything now ready, and I just need to wait for the Milky Way to appear and pray for clear skies, which at the moment is not what is going on. So let's pray. So let's go, let's start.